Let's talk a little bit more about the elections now, the campaign in particular. It's a lot of people have said it's probably the most interesting election season that a lot of people have witnessed in their lifetime.
Yeah.
A lot of vitriol has been thrown both in the papers and the media and everywhere. And someone who's sort of been in the spearhead of this is the governor of Ekiti State, a state which you worked for with the former governor Kayode Fayemi, and lost the election. What do you think how significant is his role in this election? Because he's spreading a lot of things, true or not, but it's out there. A lot of people are saying there are people who are gullible to some of these things. Do you think these things he says are right? Are they things that should be allowed to be said? Is it something that you're comfortable with?
You mean Kayode Fayemi?
No, the governor of Ekiti State currently.
The incumbent governor?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I can, parry that question. One, because I was part of the, previous government. I was an integral...
Which is in opposition now.
Yes, which is in opposition in Ekiti, in that place now. But definitely, I think he himself knows that, those things he's peddling are untruths. And I think he's just also playing on people's, gullibility and the fact that when you push out this information, it gets to a lot of quarters that they cannot be retrieved again. And when people take this information, they run with it. It's also playing on people's, let me say, lack of, sort of sufficient education with respect to consciousness as regards these things.
Yeah.
And he understands what real politics within the context of our society means, and is playing.
Because one of the very popular ads he put out, even his party distanced themselves from the things he said, about the opposition candidate, General Buhari. My point being that these things are still out there. And are you worried about how much damage it might be doing to the APC?
I think I would think the PDP distancing itself from Fayose is actually just they want to be smart alike. Because my sense is that anything, Fayose is like their third party. It's like the go-to person when you have to, mud sling, when you have to throw muds at the other, at your opponents. Then Fayose has lent himself as, some kind of credible hand. He's skilled in such kind of political machinations. So they give it to him, he throws it out, and then the PDP or President Goodluck Jonathan looks away and, like, okay, no, he's not speaking for us. Again, in terms of the authentication of what, sometimes you even want to disregard some of those things because you don't want to give force to them by trying to respond to him. And again, he sort of drags people into the gutter. Do you want to play that kind of politics? You can elevate yourself beyond that kind of political activities that does not sort of contribute to the quality of debates or quality of campaigns that we have drawn for ourselves. So, Fayose knows how to play that game. He's playing it. He has friends in Fani Kayode and the rest of them. So, I think he's the kind of... Again, I think it's PDP thinking that, okay, we know General Buhari all this while. He's contested 2003, 2007, and 11. The kind of style they used against him then, they think they should use the same against him. But they didn't amend their minds to the fact that, one, for the first time, perhaps, General Buhari is emerging convention. The convention was also quality in terms of their claim, and it sort of, put APC, right there as the opposition, as the leading opposition party, and it also it boosted APC's profile. So rather than go back to rework their strategy, they refused. They had, this strategy that had been planned even when INEC released the timetable about a year ago, and they couldn't, rework that strategy. And I think that was what, hit them in the face at the end of the day, and they had to, play that political gimmick of postponing the election so that they can get some breather.
Let's talk a little about INEC now, because they seem to be the most talked about, if I may say that, in the last couple of weeks. We have 1 week to go based on their deadline for collection of PVCs. We've had so many percentages being thrown out, 75% today, 72% tomorrow. We don't know how many PVCs have been collected, but are you happy with INEC?
I must say, I want to be careful here. I'm actually not. If I have to answer straight, I'm not happy with INEC. I think INEC has not discharged itself well. I think that Professor Jega has not been honest with the nation. Apart from the fact that, the president and the service chiefs wanted the elections to be postponed, and they had to use the blackmail of security to force INEC's hand to postpone the election. it also, was to Jaga's advantage because he wasn't really ready. Again, in terms of the PVCs, we shouldn't box ourselves into a corner. And sometimes then, this is where I pity INEC, because it boxes itself into some kind of corner. Because it's not INEC's responsibility to get PVCs collected. Its own responsibility is to get the PVCs distributed. So insofar as the PVCs are at the ports where they're supposed to be collected, then it is the responsibility of each of the voters to go, the PVCs. So, and then again, in terms of figures, you see, one of the things about the election is that, it's a process. Sometimes people probably don't amend their minds to this. One, the electoral process starts from when laws are being enacted. The law for this election was enacted in 2010, sorry. I am sure if the president and PDP were to be able to manipulate the timetable, they would have probably wanted the lower level elections to hold first. But in 2011, it paid them that the first, it pays them that the first elections were that of the president, and then there was some kind of cascading. Now, they would have wanted the lower level elections to hold first so that the president can use whatever state power and other resources to help, the governors and the other guys to win, and then they can now assure him of his victory, because now I am sure that he is not sure who to trust in terms of, where the political dynamics are tilting. There aside from that, INEC is supposed to produce for us a quality voter register. The voter register as it is not quality. Even if it is one figure that is, incorrect in any of the states or any of the polling units, it may invalidate the total, register. But what you guys, those of you who are lawyers, what you say when you get to court is that substantial, compliance with the law. I don't know what that, who determines substantial compliability with the law, So these things, sometimes they also have their nuances. But, if you look at Lagos state figures, for instance, INEC has banded two different figures. There's the 5.6 million registered voters in Lagos. There's the one for 5.9 million voters. If you compare 2011 voters register, which is about 73 million people, and then how come we have now a lesser number, 68 million people? Is it that people did not reach the age of 18? The new people who just came in, or more people died within that period, and all of that. Again, INEC has come to confess that the 2011 voter register actually had over 4 million irregular voters on the list. That also invalidates sort of the register that was used for 2011. So you see all these things, and then how come we have 4 years to plan for this election? We have so much, money budgeted for INEC, and you still have all of these issues that shouldn't even be there, at this time of the day. Again, in terms of PVC collection, now they say over 14 million. I've argued, in other forum that in Ekiti as well as Osun State, 65% of PVCs were collected in Ekiti, 70% in Osun. It did not invalidate those governorship elections. If you extrapolate that, it was about that 20 million that they were touting, 20 to 24 million that they were touting before February 14th. So it means that what had happened in this country. So there's a basis, there's an example for whatever. So that basis of PVC collection or no collection wasn't really tenable. They just had to find some,
So many questions, so many unanswered questions that we don't know if we're going to get answers to by the elections. But thank you very much for being here today. Hopefully the elections go peacefully is what all of us pray for. And at least the best candidates emerges. Thanks for being here today. When we come back, we'll be talking more politics. Please stay with us.